Hi everyone, I'm Rod Ferguson, General Manager for all things Diablo.
And I'm Joe Shelley, Game Director for Diablo IV. It's finally here. We're excited to announce that Diablo IV is available now on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation.
You know, it's been a long time coming, and everyone on the team has worked incredibly hard to bring you this game we love. The gates of hell have opened, and we're so happy for you to join us in Sanctuary. Now, Diablo IV is truly a huge evolution for the franchise. So Joe, what are you most excited for players to experience?
It's hard to choose. Diablo IV offers so much more for players to do than ever before. The game was built with player choice in mind, allowing you to play the way you want to play. Whether that's diving into the massive story, exploring dungeons, or just roaming the open world, slaying any demon that comes your way. I'm most interested in seeing all the different builds players create.
It's true, with 5 different classes to choose from, including many old favorites like, Necromain for life, there's a playstyle for everybody.
That's right. I love playing the Rogue because it's the perfect hybrid class, whether you want to stab demons with daggers or shoot them from afar with a bow. There are endless ways to build and customize your character. Whether you love theory crafting with skills and Paragon boards, or designing the perfect look with all of our character customization options.
Well, for me personally, I can't wait for everyone to see the scope of the story we've been working on.
It's the biggest story we've ever put into a Diablo game, and you can play it in any order. The story has you travel across Sanctuary and delve even deeper into its characters, especially its 2 creators.
I can't wait for players to experience the final showdown between Lilith and Anarius. I mean, it's been thousands of years in the making, and it's going to be truly epic. But of course, it doesn't end there.
That's true. Once players reach the end game, they'll be able to dive into nightmare dungeons, brave hell tides, and dominate foes in PvP.
And so with all that, we want to thank you all so much for your support in the creation of this game, and to let you know that we're just getting started.
We'll see you in hell.
Hail Lilith, Blessed Mother.
Hatred has returned, and she shall not relent until she has corrupted us all. But somewhere in the shadow of her darkness, you must cast your light to find hope in a flash of steel, or wrath of nature, or power of flame. You must stand up to hatred, or she will destroy us all. Your time is now.
I thought the mural project was absolutely not possible. The story of the painting is really the hero's journey in their confrontation with Lilith. We hired a team of modern-day masters led by Adam Miller to bring the painting to life.
And this job intrigued me because it was painting a church. They wanted something in a Baroque style, and the scale and the speed of it seemed a bit insane, so I thought, let's give it a try.
And I asked him when he was on site, has he ever done anything like this before? And he said, no, absolutely not. This is insane. The art direction for Diablo IV is really rooted in this idea of delivering on the fantasy of a dark, gothic medieval world.
So when Adam called me up and told me about this project, I was like, wait, we're painting what and how big? It's unlike, ordinary realistic painting. You have to go like bigger and bolder.
I think the main goal was really to make something just epic in scale and call back to a time of Michelangelo and Da Vinci and these old masters that defined a generation of art. It's an honor to be associated with it. It's been a long journey, and I cannot wait for players to experience the game for the first time. We'll see you in Sanctuary.
Sanctuary is the world in which the story of Diablo takes place, and it's the battleground for the souls of humanity and the fight between angels and demons.
Sanctuary is a vast world, and there'll always be something new in every area, like hordes of enemies, safe haven towns, resources to gather, events, quests, and more.
We wanted to bring Diablo IV artistically more back towards like Diablo II, the much darker style. It's very macabre.
The artists and designers have had so much fun working on it, and it's just been a joy to create for us.
How would the people of Sanctuary show their world? What kinds of art would they use to describe the world? One of the things we really wanted to do was make the game feel like a painting.
Everything was built by a wonderful group of people who love Diablo as much as you do.
We have 5 unique zones.
Each of the regions has its own kind of flavor and ambient life.
We take a lot of influence from what our concept artists give us, and I know they take a lot of influence from real life.
There's Kyrgyzstan, which is the sort of desert.
It's amazing with its sweeping sand dunes.
Skazglen, which is inspired by Scotland. Fractured Peaks is inspired by the Carpathian Mountains.
The Dry Steppes is sort of our mountainous desert region, and Hawazar is the swampy region of the south. Whether you're on a mount or on foot, it's a joy to go from one region to the next. Also, the region transitions are really beautiful and stunning to see.
Making sure that it felt sort of geologically true was really important. If you walk from Fractured Peaks into Hawazar, you'll cross all of these waterfalls caused by snowmelt. So you can actually see the snow melting in Fractured Peaks through waterfalls, entering into Hawazar and entering the large basin that fills Hawazar with all of the swamp water.
We have all the different environments in the overworld, and we tried to make sure there was some parity with those in the dungeons. We have dungeons that are flooded, and there's like moss everywhere. It very much fits in with that Skazglen environment. Kyrgyzstan is all desert, so we have dungeons filled with sand. All the dungeons are particularly placed to make sure that they feel like this is a thing that could be in this part of the world. It fits here, it belongs here.
We definitely redesigned some of the monsters. For example, the Fallen family has gone through a major redesign to make them feel more grim, a little scarier, a little darker, to match the tone of Diablo IV.
Monster families are a way to describe the group of monsters that create a combat experience. So a lot of times there'll be brutes and swarmers, melee or casters, and that's the term that we use to sum up the vampires or the drowned or the undead.
And all of them have unique abilities, but they all synchronize together. They bolster each other and improve how they work on the battlefield so that every time you fight a pack of, let's say, goatmen, it's always different.
We wanted to make sure that the monster families all felt like they fit in their environments, and so our creature team did a really good job of making these different versions of them that have adapted to their environment. There's snowy goatmen and Fractured Peaks and some of the colder areas versus lightning goatmen are in Dry Steppes and kind of the more arid areas. Hawazar has a lot of poison spiders.
Each of the regions has its own kind of flavor, and it's pretty exciting to discover.
We have some really cool new snake men, the Nangari. We've seen snake men in Diablo before, but these guys are just really twisted amalgamations of multiple snake heads, even human body parts. We have skeletons, we have undead, we have ghosts. All the things that you would expect to find from a Diablo game.
Spiders have been around in Diablo forever, but the spider host was a cool new twist.
It's a giant spider that attaches to a corpse and then puppets it at you. And when you kill it, it explodes with tons of baby spiders. And then those little spiders come after you. And I feel slightly guilty about traumatizing a lot of people with it.
We also have wildlife, deer, snakes, bugs, dogs. You can pet the dogs, by the way.
So many people ask to pet the dog. It was actually a lot of hard work to figure out how to pet that dang dog. You have so many activities that you might run into. It could be a stronghold, it could be side quests. You might have key dungeons to do. There could be bounties to pick up. You might encounter a world boss. You might encounter an invasion event of some kind.
We have much longer sort of narrative-heavy side quests, and we have some shorter side quests, so you never feel like you're always doing the same thing. The pacing is always a little bit different. One of the things that I really loved about our announcement was the By 3 They Come cinematic. I was able to build a quest where you actually get to go to those places. You get to go to the town. You get to go inside the chapel. And I work with some incredible dungeon designers to build the dungeon from the cinematic. You're gonna get to go across the bridge that you saw to the actual room where Lilith was summoned. I don't want to spoil too much, but I'm super excited to have players see it.
Sometimes it's kind of nice to just walk places, because that's a lot of the times when you see these little events.
You might find a demonic altar that you need to feed your blood to summon demons to then defeat for all of their loot. You might find a ghost child who's trying to find the remains of their parents, and you have to protect them. We have strongholds, which are a sort of large area that you can enter, and it has its own story, its own setup, its own sort of art that sort of tells a very specific story about this location, and those stay unlocked permanently once you've beaten back the darkness.
We did a lot of figuring out the balance between like how much space do we need for players to play through these dungeons versus how much space do we need to make them look cool. My favorite is this one called Endless Gates. It's got these teleporters, and these teleporters actually take you to other dungeons. So you'll end up in a cave, a crypt, or one of the ancients. And every time you go in, it's designed to change.
And there's dozens of villages and towns that you will run into.
The cities and towns are designed to be hubs. They're havens. They're places where you can find other players. They're good places to do all of your usual inventory management.
Each region has its main city that you can get lots of side quests and lots of activities.
We've really crafted the world to feel like there's always something just around the corner to find. In Diablo IV, you actually get to walk Sanctuary.
It's a massive place that you can seamlessly explore with no loading in between zones, which is something brand new.
It's a very immersive experience.
What I love about it is that you can go in a direction and you might be searching for a particular quest or an item, and you'll come across a stronghold that you haven't explored before. You'll come across dungeons that have legendary affixes, or you might discover a side quest that you didn't even know about that fills in some bit of lore that you actually were interested in. There's any number of things that can happen along the road to your destination, and that's what I love about having this fast-paced.
There are tons of different types of events in the world. It's been created to feel full of things to encounter, full of secrets to discover, full of characters to interact with, full of stories to find. We have these altars to Lilith that if you can find them, they will give you a permanent buff to all of your characters across the game. There are tons of them hidden everywhere. We also have these massive world bosses that are so big the camera actually has to pull out even further, and you're gonna have an opportunity to fight these bosses with your friends or with strangers to take down these huge world bosses.
And the team has done just an incredible job making Sanctuary a world worth exploring and a world worth investing yourself in.
Hi, I'm Adam Fletcher, community lead for the Diablo franchise. I'm joined here by Joe Shelley, who's the game director for Diablo IV, and then I have Joseph Pipora, who's the associate game director of Diablo IV. At the Game Awards, we did reveal the new cinematic for Diablo IV. It'd be good to help inform the community, because I know a lot of people, if you follow Diablo, you know who like Lilith and Inarius are, but then there's a lot of questions related to like, who is Lilith, who is Inarius, how important are they within the Diablo universe?
Yeah, so these two antagonists are a central part of the story. As you adventure through the world of Sanctuary, these two founders, who do not see eye to eye at this point, are a key part of the story that will unwind.
Let's take another look at the Inarius and Lilith trailer.
fights true in his holy name. Blessed be the light.
Honestly, it's probably one of my most favorite cinematics that, you know, our SFT team has worked on here.
It's incredible.
Blizzard. It's incredible.
Being able to like explore Lilith as a character, explore Inarius' characters and like their motivations, kind of what led them to where they are now and why things are blowing up the way they are, yeah, definitely very important to the overall story. Very cool to explore as well.
Yeah, so Diablo IV focuses on the world of Sanctuary, and the world itself was created by Inarius and Lilith. The universe of Diablo, there's this eternal conflict between heaven and hell, with the angels on one side and the demons on the other side. And Inarius and Lilith got tired of this and wanted to have a third way, and they created the world of Sanctuary where the humans live, and Diablo IV takes place.
I think the cinematic showcases amazing moments, especially for Inarius. I mean, he's very much, you know, center stage for kind of the first time that people really get to see or experience him in a Diablo game, beyond just like the lore, the discussions, and so forth. And just seeing his power and what he represents right there was amazing.
Yeah, Inarius is a force, to be sure. It's so cool to be able to tell the story in a way that we can have really multifaceted characters that have real motivations, you know, like you were saying, but also be able to represent the raw power of some of these characters like Inarius. Like, when you think about that shot of Inarius' wings, getting to see them over the army, angel wings have been such a beautiful part of Diablo games for a long time. You know, I think back to the scene with Tyrael in the World Stone and how his wings were represented there. The way that they can move. You know, I don't think I've seen any other angel wings that are represented quite this way. They're just incredible.
Yeah, they feel very iconic to our angels in Diablo, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And then, of course, they're not just visually cool, they're also functional. You can see in the cinematic we just showed, when he lands, he actually impales a number of fallen off screen.
Yeah.
With his wings.
Yeah, this is honestly one of my favorite parts, where he's just like coming down and the fallen are in awe, and his feet landing on the ground, and like the amount of impact he has while doing a soft landing is just insane. You can tell he's got something on his mind. He clearly has an objective, wants to most definitely go towards it. It's just insane to see the power that's behind him. One of my other favorite moments is the pulse he sends out. That like completely brightens up hell. All the fallen are essentially like blinded by it, but it's got this unique sound to it. A little bit of fun Diablo lore is that angels in Diablo are beings of light, and the sound and the resonance are all tuned to the crystal arch, and it's almost like you're hearing his unique sound that he actually sends out, which just causes all the fallen to immediately move off and be scared of his power and what he brings. There's so much in regards to the story between Inarius and Lilith, and there's a lot more to reveal that we're going to be doing here over the next, couple months as we lead up to launch, and of course when people jump into the game for the Diablo IV story. But that cinematic was phenomenal for sure.
The story in Diablo IV will appeal to both new players and hardcore Diablo fans. And when writing this next chapter, we really wanted to return to our darker roots,
Sanctuary is in a very interesting state right now. It's 50 years after Reaper of Souls from Diablo III, where half of the population was exterminated by an archangel. The world has seen quite a bit of changes, quite a bit of scarring from its wounds that have not totally healed.
In these years of death and decimation, power vacuums have opened up and been filled by various factions you'll actually get to interact with in Diablo IV. Heroes of the past that we've known and loved have long since faded into memory, as well as an iconic order known as the Haradrim.
The world is a bit broken and wounded, and it's in this fragile state that Inarius and Lilith return, and they are the makers of Sanctuary, and their return may not mean the best for humanity.
Before Sanctuary was created, the heavens and the hells were battling each other in a non-stop war. Our Sanctuary was created by disenfranchised rebel angels and demons that wanted out. They didn't want to be a part of this never-ending war because there was literally no point. Two of those people were Inarius and Lilith.
Lilith is a demon and Inarius is an angel. They were part of the eternal conflict between heaven and hell, in which they were constantly fighting with each other.
When Lilith captured Inarius, she was ready to torture him, but when she learned that they're of like mind, she became his partner in crime. They stole a singular, most important object known as the World Stone, a massive, iconic, mountain-sized gem that has the ability of creation.
Inarius and Lilith helped to create the world of Sanctuary.
And that's where the name of the world comes from. It was their sanctuary to hide away from the eternal conflict.
They both have similar goals, but as an angel and as a demon, have different ways of going about it.
Inevitably, it wasn't going to last. They've clashed multiple times throughout the history of the Diablo universe, and the last time they met, Inarius banished Lilith from the world and locked her in this realm of darkness.
We wouldn't see Lilith again until the cinematic By Three They Come, when a mysterious figure pulled her back into Sanctuary and set her loose on the world she helped create.
Inarius also suffered when the heavens found out where he was and what he had done, that he had created this world. He was punished and handed over to the burning hells as a peace offering.
Because of these two experiences, both Lilith and Inarius do share that they were betrayed and they've been disillusioned. That does not mean that they get along.
There's this rare moment in time where Inarius and Lilith are back on the world.
It is them fighting each other with humanity as their battleground.
When the story of Diablo IV begins, this wanderer is trudging through the snowstorm in a place called the Fractured Peaks. Really, they're just looking for some shelter.
The player character in Diablo IV is whoever the player wants to be. Are they running from something? Are they running to something? What kind of a person are they? We leave that up to them to decide.
They are seeking refuge from this blistering cold that saturates everything within the Fractured Peaks. They find a cave, and it is that moment where they're pulled into the bigger events of Sanctuary, these monumental moments that will be taking place that will shape and shake the world. It has been 50 years since Malthael, the aspect of death, culled about 50% of humanity. Humans struggle to survive in that 50-year gap after that massive culling. The humanity itself is trapped between the high heavens and the burning hells, and each are trying to influence humanity in their own way. The player is asked to save Sanctuary by a specific character that we actually remember from Reaper of Souls. His name is Lorath Nar.
Lorath in Diablo IV is not the same Lorath from Diablo III, Reaper of Souls. He's a changed man. He was a member of the Haradrim. And the Haradrim is this secretive order of scholars and mages who protect the world from demons and other supernatural threats.
Lorath is much older and weathered from the things that he's seen. He is struggling with who he is with the Haradrim and even without the Haradrim.
When Lorath learns of the player's interactions with a being that he remembers very well, he pulls him into this mission to stop Lilith.
They will need to try to figure out a way to survive in the world of Sanctuary in all of its turmoil since Lilith has come back. We have a lot of new characters that you'll be experiencing in the world of Sanctuary. One of them is Prava. She leads the Cathedral of Light. The Cathedral of Light is a militaristic faction led by Inarius. Inarius is the ultimate supreme leader, but she handles the day-to-day.
She acts as a bridge between Inarius and the other followers of the Cathedral of Light.
She was at rock bottom when Inarius met her. As you can imagine, on Sanctuary, life is brutal. Inarius uplifted her and taught her the tenets of the Cathedral of Light.
Ever since then, she's become his most loyal, fervent follower. She would do anything for him, and she just really believes in what he stands for.
Inarius is in various states of bitterness. You're seeing a faction that has done as much good as necessarily bad. You as a player get to decide how you feel about those actions, and Prava will be at the forefront of all of it.
Donan, he's one of the Herodrim. He is this very gifted mage who also is a scholar. We find him in this place called Scotland, where he's made a name for himself and become something of a hero. In Diablo IV, we'll find out what Donan's relationship with Lorath is and the Herodrim and how he became a hero in this place. Neyrelle is this young adventurer. She has traveled the world with her mother, looking for lost artifacts. She's spent her life going through old ruins and reading old texts and learning these arcane things. Together, they're searching for the remnants of the Herodrim. They believe in finding that, they'll find some purpose.
She is someone who is very intent on stopping Lilith, so she becomes a very strong ally for you and for Lorath throughout the game.
It's through her actions that Lorath and the group that you will follow will come to contend against Lilith.
Something that we tried to do from a narrative perspective is create people that are living in a very dark place, but still trying their best to live.
They'll have some scars, but they also have these pieces of beauty and humanity. We wanted to ground them in the circumstances of the world and make them feel real and relatable.
With Diablo IV, you're very much watching a tragedy unfold. It's definitely a story that we wanted to create around people, not just the apocalyptic elements that surround the story. And that's something that we really sought to bring to you as a part of the Diablo narrative.
Lilith is free, she has some followers, and she's back on her old business. She's gonna corrupt us or try to turn us to her side for her own ends.
The story of Lilith and Inarius is the darkest story we've ever told, and it expands the mythos of Sanctuary and the lore of the series like never before.
slate there. Big flame.
This is Poi Ball of Death.
Take two.
Take 4 or 5. With the fire staff, all 4 wicks are on fire. It's a big one. It's a big one.
We're really excited about getting this game into players' hands and letting them experience this massive world.
A main cornerstone of D4 is play your way. As a player continues to advance through the story and into the endgame, they'll unlock a ton of brand new activities that provide meaningful progression, no matter their playstyle.
Players will be able to keep progressing in the narrative of the game. Alongside that, the whole team has worked on crafting a variety of different experiences players can pursue.
We're going to have an entire world of Sanctuary for our players to offer. There's going to never be an absence of something to do.
After the player has finished the campaign, there's a lot more game to go and participate in. They gain access to a special, what we call capstone dungeon that they have to complete. Once they're able to finish this capstone dungeon, they're going to gain access to the first world tier.
As you complete the world tier, it will open up the opportunity for you to go into your next world tier. That involves unlocking powerful loot, new items, and more advantages for your player to have a better opportunity at end game.
Whether you're a fan of dungeons, PvP, or just roaming around the world, there's a way to continue your Diablo adventure long after hitting max level. As your character continues to grow in power, you'll start with the skill tree and expand out into the Paragon system.
A lot of the choices the players make are grounded on skills themselves and the fantasies associated with those skills. The Paragon board is a place where we allow you to have a lot more depth, a lot more customization, many more options as you go.
You can rotate the board, so you can choose a different path if you're like, I want to do more strength-based things, or I want these particular boons or glyphs. You can chart your path through it, and they're really a way for you to keep expanding your character and making it uniquely yours.
Similar to the Paragon boards is the Codex of Power. It's an in-game system that holds the aspects related to the character. You are able to complete a dungeon, and they will have a chance to drop an aspect that you can pick up.
And what this allows players to do is take items they're finding in the world and make them more powerful, turn them into legendary items.
It's really special to discover what kind of playstyle really means the most to you. Every part of Sanctuary is fulfilling and satisfying. Dungeons in particular are really close to my heart. Nightmare Dungeons are going to give the players the opportunity to experience a dungeon that they might have already experienced in their past playthroughs. They'll enter the dungeon with a found sigil that alters the playstyle and the intensity of the dungeon.
They're more difficult and they have additional objectives. And then they also have affixes, which add a degree of difficulty for you and your group to work through.
One of my favorite affixes that you can find in Nightmare Dungeons is actually called Hellgate. Occasionally, these portals will open up throughout the area that will just pour out different monsters that aren't native to that region for you to also be dealing with while you're trying to handle everything else inside the dungeon. There's over 120 dungeons to play through and find in Diablo IV, and any one of them can become a Nightmare Dungeon by finding a Nightmare Sigil and then using it to activate the Nightmare version of that dungeon space.
Everything's a little darker, everything's more difficult. It's going to add a little bit of a twist of flavor on your particular dungeon.
There's some targeted activities in Diablo IV that suit what you're feeling in the mood for.
The Forces of Hell are starting to have more influence in certain parts of Sanctuary in the vast interconnected overworld of the experience. And as the players are going into Helltide areas, you're gonna find even more powerful monsters. And by killing them, they'll be able to gain these special shards they can take to go and use to purchase these big rewards that are available at these caches that are found littered throughout Helltide areas.
The sky darkens and the rivers run red, meteors fall from the sky, and the monsters get harder. We really want to create new experiences for the players. There's one I really like called Whispers of the Dead, which you get from the Tree of Whispers. The Tree of Whispers is grim and a little gruesome, but it's also something mystically haunting and kind of beautiful.
The tree has a little bit of a grudge against our players and it would like for them to go serve its needs. So you're going to go serve these bounties, gather different rewards, different items, and bring them back to the tree in hopes that it can exchange you something really meaningful.
Maybe you're gonna go to the Fractured Peaks and take out some werewolves that are rampaging in a town. They're contained activities that you can do alone or in a group. We really wanted to create variety for people to be able to spend time where they wanted to in the world. It's very cool the way it's been put together, and I can't wait for people to see it, to be honest.
In Diablo IV, we have a focus on the world of Sanctuary. And there are parts of that world that we call the Fields of Hatred, where Lilith's presence in Sanctuary has begun to seep through and manifest these poisonous areas throughout the world. When players go to these regions, they get to engage in player versus player conflict.
These offer opportunities for the player to collect shards. But there is a little bit of a catch. In order to get these shards back to town, you will need to purify them. Other players will definitely know that you're attempting to purify your shards, so you'd better be prepared to fight if you're going to be playing any PvP, and be prepared that you might lose some stuff in the meantime.
Once they've got the purified shards, they can take these, go back to nearby towns to sell them, and then use that to buy a whole bunch of interesting cosmetic items and rewards.
It's a place for people who really love PvP and want to still get loot and still increase their character's power. If that's the way they want to play, they can.
Launch is just the beginning. One of the things we're really focused on is creating a living, breathing set of updates for players to engage with after the game has gone live.
It's really just going to be a way to keep coming back and experiencing more Diablo IV in fresh ways.
We're really eager to hear all of your experiences and just enjoy the entire story with you all.
Sanctuary has always been trapped amid the eternal conflict. A war between angels and demons. But Lilith serves neither side. She was banished ages ago, but this world is her creation.
My children, the lords of hell are coming to devour our world.
Hell is coming. Hell is coming.
Resist her temptation!
I have not come to save, but to empower. I will give you freedom and more. May we fight true in his holy name.
The time of prophecy has come, knights. We march on hell!
Glad to be alone, nothing to save me a place. See now the work of your faith! Keep a record of the wreckage in my life. Gotta recognize the limit in my mind.
Your lives and those of all humanity depend If we can't stop Lilith, we'll all be damned.